Well, I am primarily a musician. I play violin and sing and write songs. But when I started touring, I realized just how much work there was to do to get the message of disability rights out into the world, especially as it pertains to arts accessibility. I ran into a lot of obstacles as a touring performer and felt like, I had a platform and I could start speaking about it, and that's something that I kind of have incorporated into my work. So at a place like a college, it's perfect because it's the next generation who are going to be making a lot of the changes that we need to see in the world. It's going to be made by these people here tonight. When I first started, it was primarily about accessibility. So a lot of the venues I played at and wanted people to come see me at weren't accessible. And I felt like, how are we ever going to start seeing more disabled performers if it's such a nightmare to navigate the venue scene? And so that was the first thing that sparked it. But the more disabled performers that I've met, the more I have come to embrace this idea of disability culture. We write our music, we perform our songs from a specific place, from our bodies, in our own experience, but it's not just our experience. Everybody has the potential to become disabled at some point. Most people have a close friend or family member with some sort of disability, and it's a story we're just not hearing in our culture. And so it's important for me to spread the message of disability culture so that people realize they can celebrate who they are, with or without a disability, and that our stories are valuable. Push it up through the dirt just like a seed, but you're never quite a flower. You feel more just like a weed, driving through. You were know where you were going, but the windshield's always dirty, and you never get to see what makes you feel. First of all, I play violin a lot differently because of my disability. I play my violin up and down like a small cello, and it changes the sound. I have a different vibrato. I bow differently, and so it's unique because of the way I play it, and that's because of my disability. But as a songwriter, there are themes that come in and out pretty frequently in my music. One of the big ones is the impermanence of life and being, I have brittle bones disease, or osteogenesis imperfecta, so my bones will break from something that wouldn't normally break someone's bones, and so all of a sudden the next 6 weeks take a sharp left turn, and you're experiencing something very differently than you had planned. And I think that idea of impermanence and change have made its way into a lot of my lyrics. The other big theme is the idea of being able to embrace the good and the bad at the same time. I think if you wrote all songs that were super positive and poppy and happy all the time, I just don't think you're reflecting reality. But also, the same goes for if everything is dark and heavy, because I think we live in a world where we are navigating both often at the same time. And so those come to me from my disability, because even though disability, I see it as just a part of my identity and it's not inherently negative, I have dealt with, obviously, struggles and barriers and prejudice and discrimination, but I've also lived this really fun and fulfilling life filled with lots of love. And so being able to kind of be okay with the fact that both exist at the same time is a message that comes through my music because of who I am as a disabled person. Can you see me way in the back here? I've been waiting in line. It's been a long time, can't get no service. Still I'm hoping for the sun. I think it's important to see disabled artists specifically because that it's true. I think disability, I see it as a spectrum, right? So sometimes your disability is less impactful, sometimes it's much more impactful on your daily life, and we're all somewhere on this spectrum of ability or disability. And I think recognizing that performers are bringing their whole selves to a show. And I think it's important to just see that music and art and artistic expression are not relegated to one sort of person, that anyone who wants to can make something beautiful. And I think that that's one thing that disabled artists can bring to the table, is remind us that there's millions of ways to do things, and just to expand our own mind of what's possible, not just for the people in our lives, but for ourselves, that there's a lot of ways to get from A to B, and that they're all valid. So I think that's one thing I think disability culture in general brings to the table, is the creativity and the resilience of disabled artists can be a blueprint for the rest of humanity too.
BG Independent News is made possible with support from people like you. Help keep news in Bowling Green free and accessible to everyone by becoming a contributor today. Visit bgindependentmedia.org/support to help Bowling Green's best source for local news, arts coverage, reviews, opinions, campus information, and community updates.